Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. My name is Tanya for those of you that are new here, and I am a watercolor artist and a furniture painter, so you will be seeing both types of tutorials on this channel. But today I thought I would show you some watercolors. I've been painting these whimsical little watercolor paintings lately with my watercolor brush pens. So I thought I would film one and show you, so I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so today I'm going to do a little whimsical landscape for you, and I'm going to be using my Winsor watercolors, my Grumbacher brushes. This one is a Master's Touch, size 12, and these two are the Grumbacher, size 5 and size 7. And then I've got my Arteza watercolor brush pens, and I separated them cool colors and warm colors just so it's easier for me to choose from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with just a number 2 pencil really lightly, and I'm just going to go in and just start doing a little landscape. So it's going to be more of like a hill scene with some trees. So I'm just going to start going in, just doing some hills. And then if you want to do the placement of maybe some trees, just so you know where you're going to leave some white space, I like to leave some white for like highlights and stuff on trees and bushes. And then I'll have a tree come out this way. So I'm not drawing everything out, but I am going to draw some stuff that I want to maybe keep where my white space is. I'm just going to fill in some of the areas, and I'm not going to be too precise about this because once I add my watercolor with my brush, it's going to start blending it in nicely anyways. And I like when you go over your paper pretty fast, see how it gives you that texture? I like that texture. If you don't like that texture, then slow down with your strokes. But I like that texture in certain areas, not everywhere, but in certain areas. And then you can even start mixing some colors too on top of each other. Like, let's see, I'll pick up some of this brownish yellow. And the colors do start blending together automatically when you lay them down together. But once you put on a little water with your brush, it mixes it in even better. All right, I'm gonna pick up my my brush now and just start to show you what I'm talking about. So dip it in water, and then what I like to do is start with the lighter area of your section first, so then it blends into the darker area, because I don't really want to bring the dark up to the light necessarily. I want to just have all the colors kind of shine through on their own. So if I were to bring this dark up, then obviously this wouldn't be as light anymore. So I like to start with the light areas first and bring it down. And see how the colors are just blending beautifully? Even that textured area I was talking about is really, really pretty. And now I can start getting into some of my darker areas. And then if you feel like you want to bring in some of your darkers up, you can start bringing in the darker going up if you want to. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I think I'm going to do an orange tree. So I am going to do a lighter orange first with my brush pen. And we will be bringing in regular watercolors as layering on this. So I know I had mentioned that I'm going to be using my Winsor Newton watercolors. I am. I do the Arteza first, just to kind of get that watercolory, blurry look that I love. And then I come in with a little bit more detail and tone with my regular Winsor Newtons. Bring that down a little bit. And then whatever color I choose for this hill, I want a little bit of a peeking through because I don't want my tree to look too solid. So I already have to start thinking about what color I'm going to make that hill back there. And I think I'm going to do blue. Let's just do like a aqua blue. So I want some of that aqua blue peeking through a little bit because I want my tree to look kind of see-through, where you could see through the tree where the leaves aren't as thick. And then if you want to just go around your shapes. I know it seems pretty generic and elementary right now, but once you start adding all that water to it and start blending it and then layering it later with your Winsor Newtons or whatever watercolors you choose to use, it starts making sense. It starts coming together beautifully. So right now, this part here looks very elementary, and I get that. But it's the layering process that's what's important. All right, I am going to choose another blue, darker blue for down here at the bottom. Like there's a shadow between my trees, and where the hills meet, there's a shadow. All right, and then I'm going to start bringing it up a little bit. I am going to switch to my number 5 right now, just because this is, as the hills go back, they get smaller and smaller. So I am moving to a size 5. So here again, I start with my lighter color, this aqua color, and I'm going to blend it in nicely with the water. And see, my yellow wasn't exactly dry yet, so they're bleeding into each other. So all you have to do, if that starts to happen, is take a paper towel and dab it off like that. And it lightens it up. It doesn't get rid of it completely, so if you really don't want that, be careful and not bump colors up to each other, especially wet colors. But I don't really mind it because yellow and blue make green, and so it's totally fine for this painting. I'm going to go ahead and start doing my other arborvitaes up on top. Let's just do a darker green. I'm going to make these bushes more of that yellow. I'm gonna take some of that green off. It's nice when you leave a little bit of like lighter colors, lighter tones. See how I just lifted that up with my paper towel? I put water on the marker and then I took it off. So, and it gives it this really pretty texture of the lighter green and the darker green blending. And you can always go over it again a little bit. If you think that it pulled off too much paint, you can always go over it again. Okay, so I am going to start blending in this tree. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention, and I mentioned this in all my videos, is 2 cups of water, 1 for cool colors, 1 for warm colors. That way you're not blending, and it kind of preserves your paint on your paper of the look that it should be. Because if you were mixing green water with the orange right now, it would turn into like this brown muddy color. And if you want to just preserve that nice pretty orange that you intended to get, then definitely use your cup that is always for warm tones. So that's just one little tip. Now my blue is still a little wet, so I'm trying not to bump up against that too much. And I'm going over, did you see how I'm going over the light first? I'm going over all the light orange first, and then I'm going to start dabbing it in and bringing in the darker orange. And also that blue. I want that all to blend together because that's the blue that's peeking through from the hill behind it. And then you can always go in and deepen this up later. I'm going to add a little bit of a darker green. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pull in a little bit of black and start putting a little bit of shadows on these trees. And always think about where your light source is, and this is going to be my moon. I'm going to make this into more of a night scene, I believe. So this is going to be the moon shining down. So the shadows are going to be right behind your tree, since the moon is pretty much almost in the center of your painting. Now, if your moon or sun was on the side, then all your shadows would be on the opposite side. And I'm going to start bringing in, let's see, the trunk of the tree. I'll make brown and black. And I'll blend that in. And then once that dries, I'm going to add a little bit of black to it. Okay, and I'm going to bring in a little bit, now I'm bringing in some of my Winsor Newton. I'm going to bring in a little bit of sap green on these blades of grass or leaves down here. Let that blend in nicely. And I'm going to leave a little bit of white highlight on them still. And I'll bring in a little bit of my sap green up on these trees here. Let that dry. I'm going to bring in a little bit of Payne's Gray down on the bottom here. And I'm going to add a little bit of black. My tree's somewhat dry. Just crisping up some of that, the trunk here and the branches. And I'm going to add a little bit of black on these. then I'm going to start adding in some shadows that the moon is creating on these trees here. And I will start doing my sky. So I think I want a purple sky. Purplish red. And you can leave white space where you want your clouds, or you can blend it all in nicely. Add a little purple in there. And then just go around your trees nicely. And you can leave a little white space so it's like they've got a little bit of a highlight, these trees. I'm going to add a little bit more detail to this tree here. And then I think I'm going to add a little bit of that yellow color just to the edges of the tree, just to make it pop a little bit more. I want to add a little detail down this way too. With just my black, I'm going to be bringing in a little bit more textured like leaves and vines. A little bit more detailed. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna put in some more detail with the white acrylic ink, and then I'm gonna fix up my sky a little bit. Okay, so my painting has dried, and I'm gonna go in and deepen up my sky a little bit with a little bit more of that, that purpley reddish color. And I'm gonna bring in a couple more like little streaks. Now that that dried, I can go in and do another layer and just make some, look like my sky is nice and streaked with like clouds or lighter areas. So it looks like my moon is peeking through my clouds here. And I am gonna go in and I'm gonna give it a little bit more of an effect later with water, and then possibly a little bit of that acrylic ink. So we'll see what I do there. Okay, so right now I'm gonna go over to my acrylic ink, and now you're gonna wanna use a brush that is not your watercolor brush, because sometimes the ink stays in there and it ruins the bristles. So go to a brush that you're just gonna maybe always keep doing with just the acrylic ink. And I'm gonna go in, and I did leave some white space here for some highlights that the moon was like peeking through my trees, but I didn't leave as much white space as I wanted to down here. So I'm just gonna go in and create that white space, that little reflection of the moon on my trees with this acrylic ink and just a very small brush. And you can go over it a couple times if you want to, if you feel like you need to. Now I left white space down here, but I'm gonna go in and thicken up some of that and just make it a little bit more dramatic. Now I know that most watercolor artists don't use white acrylic ink on their paintings, but I'm breaking the rules here because I really like the play of white and black on my paintings. I like a little bit more of a dramatic painting. So I am going to be breaking the rules, and I am going to be using the white ink. I know that they say just use the white of the paper, and I do. I have done that. But if I want a little bit more drama, once my painting is done, I go ahead and I add this. I can bring those up. I'm just tapping my brush a little bit here and there. And you can add as many as you want. I think it just adds a little bit more play, a little bit more texture, a little bit more interest to your paintings when you start adding these little details. And I'm going to add a little bit of white around my tree, like the front of my tree is glistening. You're seeing the back of the trees right now. So if you're wondering why I'm putting this white highlight on it, because my moon is further away and it's shining on the trees this way. So what you see is the behind, you see the back of the trees. So the front of the trees are probably really nice and bright, and we're seeing the back of the trees. That's why you see the shadows and everything. So I'm just coming in and I'm putting in a little bit of white around my objects, just so it looks like they're illuminated from the front. All right, and I am going to come in with a little bit of the white ink on my moon. Okay. And I can actually bleed that out a little bit with just some water. And then once that dries, I'm going to come in with some rays, some moon rays from the moon, like they're shining out. So I'm going to let that dry for a second. So what I'm going to do is with this watercolor marker, you could just start putting in some like little rays. Just put in with some clean water. That's all I'm doing is with some clean water, and just let it do its thing. And it's starting to lighten up already. See that? And all it is I'm dabbing on some water. And I'm letting it dry. And you can go over it with a paper towel gently if you want to at this point. And lift up some of that and then add more water if you want to. And see how that's pulling up some of that watercolor? And that's kind of giving it like these rays, like the moon is just shining down on everything. So pretty. And then if you wanted to extend the rays down on your painting, you would just do the same thing. You would just bring those rays, you know, down as far as you wanted. Like I could do one right here on the tree, just so it looks like it's glistening. So I'm just lifting up some of that paint, dabbing it off on my paper towel. Pretty. So it made it look like the rays are actually going through the trees. And you can continue that as far as you want into your painting. So, and then you can keep adding more detail if you want to this painting, but I think I'm going to stop right there because I just wanted to kind of show you just a little painting. I didn't want to get too detailed with this for you. So, but you can go on and continue adding detail if you want to. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it and enjoyed it. And if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up. And you can also subscribe to this channel if you'd like. And you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Have a great day. Bye.